Okay, let's unpack this. Think about that one song you just can't get out of your head.
Yeah.
Now imagine some kind of AI just going in,
Uh,
laser-like precision,
yeah.
pulling apart every single ingredient.
hmm
The singer's voice, that rumbling bass line, the actual beat that gets your foot tapping,
Yeah.
it's almost, it's almost eerie how well it can work now.
Right. This whispering revolution you mentioned, it's happening because of AI audio stem splitting.
Exactly. It's this distortion, so subtle yet seismic. That's what we're diving into.
And what's really fascinating here is that this tech AI audio stem splitting, it basically takes a finished song, a complete piece of music, and sort of dissects it, breaks it down into its core components, those individual sound layers we call stems.
Like reverse engineering a sonic puzzle. That's a great way to put it.
Pretty much, yeah.
So look, whether you're a musician wanting to, mess around with the track,
Right.
or maybe you're a producer hunting for that perfect little snippet, a DJ ready to spin a completely unique mix, or honestly, just someone who's fascinated by how tech is shaking up music, hopefully in a cool way. You're in the right place.
Yeah, we're going to try and break down this really exciting technology without getting totally lost in the weeds, the complicated terms.
Hopefully get ready for some aha moments along the way.
That's the plan. Our goal for this deep dive is really to get to grips with AI audio stem splitting. We want to understand the basic ideas, the science powering it, how it's actually being used out there in the real world, some of the, interesting discussions and, frankly, questions it's raising.
Yeah, there are definitely questions.
And ultimately, what does it all mean for the future of making music and even just how we listen to it?
And we're drawing on some really insightful pieces from beats to rap on, looking at both the tech side and the kind of cultural shifts it's causing.
That's right. They've got some good perspectives on this.
For years and years, if you wanted to isolate, let's say, just the vocals from an old recording.
Oh, yeah. Nightmare.
Total headache, right? Often meant digging up the original multi-track tapes, if they even existed.
Yeah.
And they could be a real tangled mess.
Absolutely. Time-consuming, expensive.
Yeah.
Sometimes impossible.
But here's where it gets really interesting. These AI models, like Spleeter, they've completely flipped the script.
Totally changed the game.
It's like going from painstakingly trying to untangle a massive knot by hand to suddenly having these incredibly precise, like, digital tool that can just separate each strand almost instantly.
Yeah, the core idea behind AI stem splitting is using these deep learning models. They're essentially smart algorithms trained to analyze a piece of music and then intelligently separate out the different bits, vocals, bass, drums, maybe other instruments too.
The intricate digital scalpel blades analogy from the source is pretty good, isn't it?
It really is. They're designed to isolate sounds with, remarkable accuracy sometimes.
And one of the big breakthroughs, you mentioned this UNet thing, sounds a bit sci-fi.
Yeah, it does a bit.
But it started somewhere completely different, like medical images.
Exactly. It originated in biomedical image segmentation, finding tumors in scans, that kind of thing.
Wow. So how did that jump from looking at pictures to listening to music?
Well, the underlying structure, this UNet architecture, it has this process of, let's call it contraction and expansion.
Okay.
It's been cleverly adapted for audio. The contraction phase sort of compresses the audio info, finding the key sonic features.
Got it.
Then the expansion phase rebuilds the audio, but ideally with the different stems neatly separated out. Think of it like a symphonic journey where the music is broken down and then rebuilt piece by piece.
So the AI isn't just like vaguely listening, it's really getting into the sonic details. How does it know what's a drum and what's a vocal?
It works by looking at the spectral components. So imagine shining light through a prism. You see all the colors, right?
Yeah.
The AI does something similar with sound, looking at all the different frequencies present at any moment. It learns to recognize patterns, pitch, rhythm, how long notes last, using things called convolutional neural networks, CNNs, and recurrent neural networks, RNNs.
Okay, those acronyms again, CNNs and RNN.
Yeah. Think of CNNs as helping the AI see the shape of a sound in the frequency data, like a visual pattern. And RNNs help it understand how sounds change over time, the sequence.
Right. So it's pattern recognition, essentially. But I'm guessing, it's not perfect. It doesn't always nail it.
Oh, absolutely not. And that's a really important point. This isn't magic.
Okay.
It's machine learning. It needs huge amounts of music data, carefully labeled data to train on.
Right. Someone has to teach it first.
Exactly. And even then, the results aren't always pristine. You might hear, like the sources say, ghostly remnants or artifacts.
Little bits of, say, guitar leaking into the vocal track.
Precisely. Or maybe the drums sound a bit washy. It happens.
But still, there's some pretty cool tools out there making this tech way more accessible, right? Spleeter was mentioned as a big one.
Yeah, Spleeter, developed by Deezer, is definitely a major player, especially in the open source world.
Open source, meaning free to use and modify.
Generally, yes. And it's known for being relatively easy to use, plus you can choose how many stems you want, 2, 4, or 5, usually vocals, drums, bass, and other.
That's really handy. Okay, let's dive a bit deeper into the science stuff. The Fourier transform and spectrograms. What's that all about?
Okay, so the Fourier transform, think of it as a mathematical tool. It takes the audio signal, which we hear changing over time, and translates it into its frequency components, like what frequencies are present and how loud are they at each moment.
Ah, okay. Breaking it down by pitch, sort of.
Sort of, yeah. And this frequency information is often visualized as a spectrogram.
Of like the picture of the sound.
Exactly. It's a visual representation, almost an input image that the AI neural networks can analyze. The AI gets trained by seeing tons of these spectrograms for isolated instruments. So it learns what a drum looks like in the spectrogram view versus a vocal versus a bass guitar.
Okay, that makes sense. It's seeing the sound patterns.
Right. And then there are things called loss functions during training, which basically tell the AI how well it's doing and help it minimize the interference, the bleed between the separated stems.
Got it. But you mentioned limitations earlier. Are there kinds of music where these AI models just get confused?
Oh, definitely. Current models often have a harder time with music that doesn't follow, let's say, standard pop or rock structures.
Like what?
Think about really complex jazz improvisation. Or maybe some experimental electronic music with unusual sounds. Even live recordings can be tricky because sounds bleed into different microphones naturally.
Right, the separation isn't clean to begin with.
Exactly. It reminds us that while AI is amazing at analysis, it doesn't yet, understand music in the way a human does. The emotional context, the cultural nuances, that's still beyond it.
Okay, so we've got a decent handle on what it is and the science, sort of under the hood. Where are we actually seeing this stuff used? In the real world?
Well, commercial uses are already pretty widespread, actually.
Like where?
Major record labels, streaming platforms, they're using stem splitting for things like improving music recommendations, maybe enhancing the sound quality of older tracks where the original masters are poor, or even creating more personalized listening experiences.
Interesting. But it's not just the big players, right? The article mentioned independent artists getting empowered too.
Absolutely. That's a huge aspect. Platforms like Beats to rap on are actually offering AI stem splitters as a tool for artists.
How does that work?
It means an independent musician can take, say, a royalty-free beat they like and easily pull out just the drums or just the bass line to sample it, remix it, build something totally new on top of it.
I see. So it lowers the barrier for creativity.
Exactly. And they mentioned features like saving the split tracks, even getting data files about peaks and lows for more precise editing. That's real control.
Yeah, that sounds powerful. So it's not just taking things apart, it's enabling people to build new things. And I guess the obvious uses are DJs and karaoke.
Oh, for sure. For DJs, imagine being able to instantly grab just the vocal a cappella from one track and layer it over the instrumental of another. Total game changer for live mixing.
Yeah, endless possibility.
And karaoke, forget searching for specific backing tracks. You could potentially remove the main vocal from almost any song.
Wow. Okay. Now I know Beats to Rap On did a head-to-head comparison. There's Splitter versus others like Voice.ai, vocalremover.org, specifically on drums.
They did, and based on their analysis, they're claiming their proprietary splitter comes out on top.
In what way?
They're saying it delivers a cleaner low end for the bass drum and bass sounds, sharper transients, the initial crack of the snare drum.
Right, the attack.
Exactly. Higher bandwidth, meaning it captures more of the high frequencies and fewer unwanted artifacts, less of that bleed we talked about.
And they back this up somehow.
Yeah, they mentioned using tools like SOX, which can generate those spectrograms we discussed, to visually compare the frequency content. They looked at metrics like bandwidth, the clarity of those transient peaks, the overall dynamic range, and the level of noise or unwanted sounds.
Okay.
They're highlighting things like full range capture, purity in the low frequencies, really crisp transients, good headroom, meaning less distortion, and just a cleaner overall sound from their tool.
That's quite the claim. And I saw a connection mentioned between this stem splitting and AI mastering. How do they link up?
Well, it makes sense if you think about it. If you feed an AI mastering tool really clean, well-separated stems, it gives the mastering AI a much better starting point to work with. It can potentially do a better job balancing the levels, adjusting the EQ for each part, optimizing the overall loudness and punch of the final track.
Because it's not fighting against sounds bleeding into each other.
Exactly. Beats to Rap On even mentioned their own AI mastering system, Valkyrie, describing it as this sort of swarm of specialized AI agents that analyze different parts of the sound. Having clean stems would presumably make that process more effective.
It all sounds incredibly powerful almost. A bit scary sometimes, which brings up the ethical side.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the conversation. There are fears about, jobs. Will this replace traditional audio engineers or producers?
Right.
And then there are big questions about ownership and copyright. If AI can perfectly extract, say, a vocal from a famous song, who owns that extracted stem? What can you legally do with it?
Consent and creative integrity become really tricky.
Absolutely. There's this tension between, on the one hand, democratizing music creation, making it easier for anyone to participate.
That sounds good.
But on the other hand, the potential for misuse, or even maybe leading to a more homogenized sound if everyone is just endlessly remixing the same separated parts.
Yeah, that's a concern. Does it stifle originality in some ways?
It's a valid debate. And sometimes, the sources mentioned, the AI doesn't get it perfect, and these artifacts or surreal results emerge.
The imperfections.
Yeah, and maybe those imperfections themselves can be interesting, like windows into hidden dimensions of sound, offering unexpected starting points for creative experimentation.
Using the glitches, almost, like a sound of resistance against perfectly polished music.
That's one way to frame it, yeah. Embracing the messy, unpredictable side of creativity that AI might inadvertently reveal.
So, looking ahead then, what are the next big challenges? Where's this tech heading?
Well, one major technical hurdle is phase reconstruction.
Phase? What's that?
Okay, so sound waves have amplitude, loudness, and frequency pitch, but also phase, which relates to the timing of the wave cycles.
Right.
Getting the phase right is really important for high-fidelity audio, making it sound natural and clear. Current models often focus more on loudness and frequency, but accurately recreating the phase is still tricky. They're working on algorithms like Griffin Lim for that.
Okay, so better sound quality is one goal. What else?
Yeah. Genre diversity is another big one. As we said, models struggle with certain styles.
Yeah.
So creating a truly universal model that works perfectly on everything from classical to hip-hop to avant-garde jazz is tough. We'll likely see more models fine-tuned for specific genres or techniques like transfer learning being used.
Where it learns one genre and applies it to another.
Sort of, yeah. Adapting its knowledge. And then there's the sheer computational power needed.
Right. Training these things must take huge computers.
It does. So there's a lot of research into making the models smaller and more efficient model compression so they could potentially run in real time, maybe even on your phone eventually.
Wow. Real-time stem separation on a phone.
That's the dream for some applications. And we're also seeing hybrid approaches, models that combine different processing techniques, looking at both the raw waveform and the frequency domain together.
It really feels like this is fundamentally changing the role of the artist or producer, doesn't it?
I think so. It's definitely making sophisticated tools more accessible, lowering barriers.
Yeah.
The skill set might evolve. Future producers might need to blend traditional skills, music theory, sound engineering, with an understanding of data science and how to best leverage these AI tools.
So not necessarily replacement, but augmentation.
Collaboration.
Exactly. A hybrid future where humans and AI work together seems the most likely and maybe the most interesting outcome. AI handling the heavy lifting of separation, humans providing the creative direction, the taste, the context.
Well, this has been a really, really fascinating dip dive. So just to quickly wrap up, AI audio stem splitting, it's a super powerful tech, breaking down songs into their parts, and it's seriously impacting music production, remixing, sampling, even just how we listen.
Yeah, and it brings up all these crucial debates around creativity, ownership, and the future shape of the music industry itself.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? That balance between the sheer power of the technology and, well, the artistic soul.
That's a perfect way to put it. It poses some big questions. Like, as AI gets scarily good at taking sound apart and putting it back together, what are the uniquely human things that become even more valuable in making music?
That's a great question.
Or, will this easy stem splitting lead to this amazing explosion of creative reuse and innovation we haven't even imagined yet? Or could it maybe flatten things out, lead to a kind of sonic homogenization because everyone's pulling from the same well?
Yeah, innovation versus homogenization. That's the core tension, maybe.
Definitely something for you to think about next time you're deep into your favorite playlist.
Yeah.
Maybe even find one of these AI stem splitters online and give it a whirl yourself.
You might be surprised what you find hiding in the mix.
Exactly. See what hidden layers you can uncover.